Do you really have the
what?
The scar?
Oh.
Wicked.
Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and or Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, depending on where you were, because, you know, in the United States, it was sorcerers, philosophers in the UK. This movie, we're just going to call it Harry Potter for the rest of the thing, is a 2001 fantasy film directed by Chris Columbus and distributed by Warner Brothers based on J.K. Rowling's 1997 novel of the same name. And it is the first installment in the Harry Potter film series, starring Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter, Rupert Grint as Ron Weasley, and Emma Watson as Hermione Granger. And it's a story that follows Harry's first year at Hogwarts High School. Where am I? Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, as he discovers that he is a famous wizard and begins his education.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
Let's talk about who was almost cast in not only this film, but what could have been the entire franchise. So starting it off with Harry Potter.
Holy cricket! You're Harry Potter!
It was Daniel Radcliffe's role, and he shined in it, and he will forever be known as Harry Potter, no matter what kind of roles he takes on from this. But it was almost Liam Aiken who was in this role. And unfortunately for him, he wasn't British. And J.K. Rowling had a very specific rule that she only wanted to cast those from the British Isles in order to be in this world. So unfortunately, even though Christopher Columbus really enjoyed him, he didn't make the boot. But because Chris saw young Daniel Radcliffe play a young David Copperfield in the BBC adaptation of the Charles Dickens book, that is how he got the role.
Wow. Let's move on to Hagrid, our big, lovable half-giant. So actually, the late Robin Williams reportedly wanted to play Hagrid in the films, but was turned down. He called director Christopher Columbus because he really wanted to be in the movie, but it was British only. That was the rule.
Sorry about that.
But for Dumbledore, Albus Dumbledore, Richard Harris turned down the role of Professor Dumbledore 3 times before his granddaughter had to step in. So he was initially hesitant to take on the role and even turned down the Sorcerer's Stone an astonishing three times before he wised up. His granddaughter said, "Papa, I hear you're not going to be in the Harry Potter movie." And she said, "If you don't play Dumbledore, then I will never speak to you again." And you know what? He loved his granddaughter, so he took it.
That is one of my more brilliant ideas.
But also, Sir Ian McKellen was later asked to take over the role of Dumbledore after he passed away in 2002, but he turned it down as well.
I think once he played like one old wizard.
You shall not pass!
He didn't want to play another. And as for Professor Snape,
Mr. Potter.
well, we all know that Alan Rickman did an amazing job with the role, but it was almost Tim Roth. But Tim was first approached with the role, and he decided to turn it down so that he could do the new Planet of the Apes movie. And I think that J.K. Rowling was actually really excited because she handpicked Alan to take on the role of Snape.
Well, fun fact, Steven Spielberg actually worked on this movie before dropping out. He was attached to make Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone for quite a while, and in a 2012 interview, he actually said, "I was offered Harry Potter. I developed it for about 5 or 6 months with screenwriter Steve Kloves, I'm sorry, it was Dan, with Steve Kloves, and then I dropped out." And I have to imagine that this is how John Williams got involved in scoring Harry Potter, because that's the only thing that makes sense to me, because he's Steven Spielberg's baby.
Here was one of my favorite fun facts we found from the film. The very last scene from the movie, when they're all waving goodbye on the Hogwarts Express to Hagrid, that was the very first scene that the cast ever filmed of this entire franchise.
This one I love. So Emma Watson in the films was meant to wear fake teeth in order to play Hermione, but she couldn't speak properly in them. So in the books, Hermione is described as having buck teeth, and they tried to alter her appearance. They tried to give her a fake pair of teeth, but she just could not do it. Director Christopher Columbus told Entertainment Weekly, "It was a big thing in the books about Hermione's teeth. She sort of had an overbite." So Emma's wearing fake teeth in one of the scenes and then realized she's never going to be able to perform with those huge fake teeth in her mouth for the rest of the movie. So if you look closely in the movie, there are certain points where you can see her fake teeth, but they did not end up keeping them throughout the movie.
Now, if you two don't mind, I'm going to bed before either of you come up with another clever idea to get us killed. Or worse, expelled.
And then in like a similar vein to that, they tried to change Daniel Radcliffe's appearance ever so slightly, and then it completely failed. So we know from the books that Harry Potter has these bright green eyes. He got them from his mom. But in real life, Daniel Radcliffe has blue eyes. So they wanted to have him wear contacts, but apparently Daniel had such a strong allergic reaction to the contacts that it like burned his eyes and he could not wear them. So that is why in the films, they're just always like more blue instead of green. Let's talk about Snape, because the late, great Alan Rickman gave such an amazing, such a tortured performance in this role. And do you know how he did that, Ash? It's because he actually knew secrets about Snape that we didn't discover until years later. So J.K. Rowling actually pulled him aside on the set of the first movie. And while she didn't paint the entire backstory of Snape, she did let him know what lies behind the word always, aka Snape's most heartbreaking line of all time. And so he was able to like kind of glean a little bit of insight into this character and portrayed him as like less of a villain and more of like a tortured professor. And I just think that he did such a good job. Favorite character.
These movies were almost very, very different because Warner Brothers originally considered making the entire Harry Potter franchise a set of computer animated movies. Or the other idea was attempting to combine several movies into a single movie. So maybe there would only be like 3 or something like that. And their main reason had to do with concern over the actors and actresses aging rapidly because they were kids and that they wouldn't be able to keep up with their aging and making them seem right, blah, blah, blah. Or the idea of recasting them later on when they got a little older. I don't know. All of that sucks. So J.K. Rowling thankfully vetoed all of that, all of those ideas, basically, combining the books, all of that. And then so the studio decided instead to produce all 8 movies back to back to back to back. So that's why they came out kind of in rapid succession, or at least they were filmed in rapid succession.
But Ash, I have to give you major props right now because you actually recently caught up with Tom Felton and got like so much Harry Potter scoop, and I was not anticipating this. Like, set it up for us.
Yeah, so I got to talk to him because they were opening up a new flagship store in New York, but it is the 20th anniversary of Harry Potter. So I asked him, like, A, did you ever consider like not wanting to be associated with this franchise anymore? But B, like, what does this kind of legacy mean to you? And here's what he had to say. So I saw recently that you went back and watched the movie, the first movie, which is on a 20-year anniversary, which is insane. You watched it for the first time in like 10 years.
It was the first time that I've ever watched it thoroughly, as far as like actually, I mean, I remember the premieres, but I remember just kids booing me and thinking that I was a sod in real life, which subsequently meant I was doing a good job. But it's been a long time. I start getting pretty teary and going like, wow, that's my childhood, or at least the start of an adventure that here we are 20 years later still talking about it.
All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Stream Queens, but Ash and I are very curious. Will you be taking a look at the Gossip Girl reboot or Monsters at Work, or maybe both? Who knows?
Yeah, let us know. And also, since we were talking about Harry Potter and it's the 20th anniversary of the film that started the franchise, we want to know, what's your favorite movie of the entire franchise? Use that hashtag Stream Queens, and we'll see you all next time.